Right. Well, we're not doing a little bit of a musical interlude. Instead, you've got me straight up off the top. So are you all good? Yes? At this point in time, I don't need to get any of you up and down and doing any exercise, etc. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves, playing along from wherever you are around Australia and around the world as well. We've got a really big following online today. And I tell you what, when we all go out to afternoon tea, sometimes we wish we might have been playing along online as well. It's a little bit congested to get out there, but the food was absolutely fantastic. I made my way out to the Harbour Masters room this time. I don't know if anyone's got out there. And I found a project called Morrissey, a man whose last name is Morrissey, and I was Morrissey. So we had 3 Morrisseys in the one place. I was very excited by that. Right, we have our 10-minute power session to finish us off on day 1. And we are starting with one of my favourite people, Dr. Jones. Would you like to come up and join us, sir, from Impact Minerals? Will you please make him very welcome?
Thanks, Chrissy, and thanks for coming along after afternoon tea. It's always a tough session to speak in. A world-class ore body. That's actually what we set Impact up to find back in 2006, and let me tell you, it's been a pretty long road since that time. But world-class ore bodies are very rare. You don't find them very often. And so things like Hemi, things like Chalice, I know it's been a little bit maligned, but recently AZY. All of those are long-term stories, many years in the field trying to find a world-class ore body. And we believe that we've found one here in Western Australia, but rather than our own discovery, we discovered it on LinkedIn, and that's a story we can tell you on our booth after the story. So Impact, we believe that we're the new player in HPA, and for those of you who aren't geologists, that's actually a play on words. Is this, could you just make this work? I'm pressing the green button. Leading into my 10 minutes. There we go. And we've gone right forward now. Okay, a geological pun, a player, because this is a salt lake. The geological term is a player, and we believe that beneath Lake Hope lies a transformational acquisition and a world-class ore body, because in the top 2 meters of that lake is something in the order of 15 to 20 billion US dollars worth of high purity alumina, one of the critical minerals that's needed for the energy transition that we're going through at the moment. Why is it world-class? It's world-class because of the economics. And when we first came across this project, which is a joint venture, we saw the potential for this project to be an extremely low-cost producer of HPA. And so this was the scoping study that we put out in November for a benchmark 10,000 tonnes a year. It looks like the NPV is very significant, well over $1 billion Australian dollars, a very manageable capex, 250 million, great IRR. But the key number down there, which is actually in US dollars for a particular reason, is that HPA is sold in US dollars, and it's $3,300 per tonne. And that's basically 50 to 30% cheaper than anybody else that we know producing the product globally. And that's a massive advantage for us as we enter this space over the next couple of years. So what is high purity alumina? It's aluminium oxide. This is what it looks like. Some people say it's the second most expensive white powder in Perth. We did have to stop the brokers grabbing this bag off our booth. But it's all about how pure it is. 4N, that's a 99.99% pure. That means there's very few impurities in there, and that's because it's used in a range of specialty applications. And as I mentioned, it's listed on the Australian Critical Minerals list and is in high demand. So for those of you who remember that the Samsung phones were exploding a few years ago, and also the Tesla cars that are often catching on fire, that's because HPA is used to prevent thermal runaway in lithium-ion batteries and other battery architectures. And so if it's not doing its job, and it either coats the anode or the cathode and also separates them, then we get thermal runaway and the batteries explode. And obviously great demand for that going forward. The second main use, again, fairly banal, if you like, is actually in LEDs and micro LED screens. And so we're seeing in the US that it's been mandated that LEDs have to come in place of incandescent light globes, and so there's mandated demand built into the LED screens, into the LED industry, and in particular if you've got an OLED or a ULED, all of those have got HPA in them. And so certainly a forecast increase in demand in both of those sectors over the next decade, and somewhere around about 2026, forecast supply deficit, as much perhaps as supply from China drops off. There's low quality and there's friendshoring and offshoring going on in the HPA space, and that's when we hope to get into small scale production. What's it worth? 4N, that's the benchmark. It's worth about $20,000 a ton, and there's a range of prices, and we're building a business around 3N and 4N. They're a very high margin and high demand business. And we've got nearly 1 million tons of alumina that we believe that we can convert into HPA over at least a 25-year mine life. It's a world-class resource, world-class deposit, and we believe that we can make a big entry into the field. So no shortage of HPA. Where are we? We're about 500 kilometres east of here in Perth. It's about 100 kilometres south of Southern Cross. Great place to work. And these are the two lakes that form part of the Lake Hope system. And the resource is basically in the top 2 metres of those two lakes. And the first advantage we can see of this project is that there's a track that runs basically right past the lake. And so there's even a haul road that's been put in for us right up to the edge of the ore body. I will argue that it is perhaps the perfect ore body. Roland Gotthard, he found the deposit. We found him on LinkedIn. Here he is drilling out $20 billion worth of material, and we spent a total of 60,000 Australian dollars on that resource. So that's about the best return on a drill program you're ever going to see in your entire life. This is what it comes out looking like. It's fairly plasticine-like, and it's actually naturally micron to nanometer sized particles. It's quite an amazing deposit in that respect. And that has some important implications for the processing. This is the East Lake, and we believe we've basically got a 10 to 15 year starter pit here, and it's going to be very simple. We're going to have a man with a digger, and he's going to go into that lake, take up the top 2 metres, put it on the stockpile, and then 2 men in a truck are going to take that away off-site, and we're going to build a processing site in somewhere probably like Kalgoorlie or maybe even in Perth. That gives us some huge advantages, again, when it comes to cost. There's no drilling, blasting, crushing, grinding. There's no rehab required. There's no water required. There's no power required on site. We can do it all with renewables. And so that gives us a huge advantage in terms of our OPEX. So I will argue it's going to be the shallowest, highest grade open pit anywhere. It's free digging. It's going to leave behind, this is very important, a very tiny environmental footprint. It's biologically sterile. Nothing lives on that lake. We have just completed our baseline environmental survey. There's no issue apparently with the lake, so we should be able to mine there. And that's going to allow the permitting to be fast-tracked. There'll be no sort of 4 or 5 year EPA reviews to get the mining lease granted. It should go through in a relatively short period of time. And of course, the whole operation will have very low carbon emissions. So very importantly, we have also had heritage clearance, basically for mining, from the Naju people. We have a very good relationship with them. And so subject to a mining agreement, we're actually cleared already for mining on the surface of the lake, which is a massive advantage for us. So because of the unique nature of the minerals in the lake, we can actually use what's a disruptive sulfuric acid process to produce HPA. Most of our competitors are using hydrochloric acid. The fine-grained minerals just give unexpected reaction kinetics. We just drop it into the vat after washing it, and the whole thing goes into solution. It leaves behind very benign tailings. The reagents we use are cheap, and we're getting great recoveries, and we have produced HPA from the process. We have identified a couple of more process routes, and you'll hear about that over the next few weeks, which might even lower the cost of production even further. And so what we're doing as part of the pre-feasibility study, which is the key thing that we're involved in at the moment, and we can earn an 80% interest in the whole project by completing that PFS, and that's planned for later this year, is to optimise these various processes that we've got and then make a strategic choice about which one is going to be the best for us going forward. So the question is, will we be the lowest cost producer? So this is our estimate from published figures, and we have currently the Chinese and the Japanese are the dominant suppliers, and we believe they're producing sort of in the $15,000 to $20,000 per tonne range. A4N, Alpha HPA, you should have a look at their story. I've got a slide to show you in a minute. They're probably down about 6,000 or 7,000. We believe that we're almost half that amount, with more steps downward to come. Now, this is a bulk commodity. There's no shortage of HPA. There's no shortage of lithium. It's a bulk commodity. No shortage of kaolin. And when we were a young geologist, we were told not to get into bulk commodities unless one of 4 things were true. First, you've got to have the biggest. Second, perhaps the highest grade. Third, be the first to market and establish relationships with suppliers. And Pilbara Minerals is an example of that. Lithium's a bulk commodity, we're drowning in it, and Pilbara Minerals will see through the curve because they were first to market with good relationships. But the last one is actually to be the lowest cost producer. If you're the lowest cost producer, you'll get through the cycle. And we believe that this is our key entry point into the business because we will be able to provide this material at a vastly lower cost than others in the space. Alpha HPA, they were like us 5 years ago, small junior company, came across a new process to produce HPA, recently hit $1 billion market cap. There was a lot of grants. They've won well over $100 million worth of Australian government money to help build their plant because it's listed on the critical minerals list, and that's a source of funding that we aim to tap into as well as we go forward. Market cap started at 10 and now well over $1 billion. Impact, we have been around for a long time, but we believe this is the project that's going to drive us market cap from 30 where we are now, much, much higher than where we are. And we should really follow us on that journey. We've got a few million in the bank, and we will have some very good metallurgical test work results to come going forward. So forward plan 2023, maiden resource, we had a great year, and complete the optimization 25 and 26 and get into our pilot plant. I did lose a few seconds for my thing in through there. And the last slide, come and join us on the journey. We aim to be one of the lowest cost producers of HPA globally, a unique deposit in Western Australia, best place to work, cost disruptive metallurgical process, and we're building out our capabilities in metallurgy and final product specification, and we invite you to come on that journey with us over the next couple of years. Thank you, Christine.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. I think every time I hear you come up here, though, I think you should have one of those Indiana Jones hats on. I think that would be even more fitting. All right, Stewart McCallion, come and join us up here. You've got a couple of deposits in different tier 1 jurisdictions. You're over in Canada, you're here in WA, but I was doing a bit of reading on you, and SIDS, so channel iron deposits. You're going to talk about those with us today?
I think I will.
Alexa.
Thank you.
Talk to us about channel iron deposits and how they're going to make our portfolios even more fantastic.
That's very good. Thank you very much, Chrissy. It's lovely to be here today. Yes, Chubb Lithium is the focus of our work for the last year, but however, we had the opportunity to pivot a little bit into the Hamersley, and thanks very much for having me today. Obviously, disclaimer, come around and grab a copy of this presentation. My booth is just in the big room over there. Look, Burley Minerals has a few assets. Obviously, we have some lithium in Canada, including Chubb in Quebec, and we recently picked up some ground in Manitoba, and I'll get to that later on. In Western Australia, we have iron ore assets, including Broad Flat Well in the Hamersley, Cane Bore in the Hamersley province, and also Yurcoin just north of Perth. It's a magnetite project. So there is some value here, folks, and allow me to elaborate. But first, just a quick overview. Dicko is our chairman, Dave Crook, long-term LCT pegmatite geologist. He's on the board, and so is Jeff Brill, an experienced Perth businessman and leader. Look, about 100 million shares on offer. We had 2 million in the bank at the end of the quarter. Last week, we've been taking a bit of a hit in our share price, so there is certainly value here. So, Chubb Lithium, again, the focus of our work in the last 12 months, as you are all familiar, Quebec is now emerging as a tier 1 lithium province, and Chubb Lithium is no exception in that region. We're right next door to North American Lithium, only 10 kilometers away, and merely 25 kilometers outside of Val-d'Or. Val-d'Or is, as I've referred to before, the Kalgoorlie of Quebec. It has a long history of mining, gold mining predominantly, and that dates back the better part of a century. So it's been very easy for us to get work done at Chubb this past year. Again, I can only illuminate, obviously, that we've got a mining community. We have all the skills and the service providers in town, contractors, drillers, etc. Again, sealed access all the way to site, basically within 3 kilometers. The site itself is sitting in a recently logged area. Rail networks in proximity. CN Rail runs through Val-d'Or and leads down to Montreal. And then from Montreal, you basically have access to the larger North American market. Prior to us acquiring Chubb, there was about 5,000 meters of drilling completed. It's been the lithium identification, or lithium was identified in this area decades ago, particularly at Chubb and further to the northeast at what is now North American Lithium. There's a series of spodumene-bearing pegmatite dikes that we have drilled into. That's striking over 600 meters. This mineralized zone is at least 240 meters wide. So it's really relatively easy to get to, as I mentioned before. You know, recently logged, lots of tracks around there, high line. So it really made our work a lot, or facilitated our work this past year. And for instance, when, you know, the fires raged in Quebec earlier in the year, or around sort of March, or rather April, May, you know, we obviously had to pull out. As soon as the fire ban was lifted in early July, we were back on the ground the next day drilling. So it's been very easy to get work done, and certainly the people in Val-d'Or have been very responsive, including our contractors. Again, North American Lithium is only 10 kilometers from our claims, and we're encouraged to see that they are beginning to kick some goals in terms of their production. Of course, I think that they may be suffering as well with the current price. We've had a systematic approach to drilling Chubb and exploring Chubb. You know, again, there's 35 claims here over about 1,500 hectares, and very few of these claims have actually been explored. Just really that Chubb Central area has been explored previously. So earlier in the year, we sent one of our geologists, one of Dave Crook's proteges, to have a closer look at the northern area where we're seeing some of these pegmatite outcrops. They're sort of large, big pegmatite outcrops. And look, previously the consensus was that this was barren ground. However, we had a better look at it. We ran the XRF, we picked up some rock chip samples, etc., and we discovered that this is actually all fertile. What we're seeing at obviously Chubb Central, just a few Ks to the south, isn't just fertile. This is obviously highly evolved LCT pegmatites. This is, you know, we're getting large spodumene crystals, and indeed, as we reported late last year, we're getting some polysite as well, and I'll get to that in a moment. High-grade lithium, again, in our Chubb Central area, we finished some 13,000 meters of drilling towards the end of the year, getting some very, very encouraging intercepts, you know, a solid above 1.2, 1.3% throughout that Chubb Central area in that main dike. Furthermore, we started some metallurgical test work on both high-grade and low-grade samples recovered from Chubb Central, and certainly some encouraging results on recoveries, pushing up towards 70% for high grade and plus 60% for the lower grade sample, and achieving that greater than 6% lithium concentrate, which is that standard product. Again, through what is a typical lithium or spodumene concentrate flow sheet, basically a dense media or heavy liquid separation program. Not much iron in it. They didn't recover a hell of a lot, so that is a good thing, which could eliminate the need for, you know, wet magnetic separators as well. So it does potentially simplify this flow sheet. Now, more interesting, and as I alluded to earlier on, these are highly evolved LCT pegmatites. And so we discovered polysite in one of the holes as we were drilling into the main dike as an extension program. Now, polysite is a cesium-bearing mineral. It's very rare. That is, you will get, obviously, in an LCT pegmatite, you'll get the lithium, cesium, tantalum. But generally speaking, cesium usually shows up at parts per million. When you start to see the cesium results that we have here, you know, at above 1 and 2%, it recognizes that this is actually polysite mineralization. Polysite is the mineral that is pursued to produce cesium. Cesium is a relatively small market, but it's a valuable market. Now, just to give you an indication, the USGS recorded or reported that cesium was selling for, pure cesium that is, was selling for $117 a gram. So nearly, this was in 2023, so nearly 80% more than gold. Bottom line is, it tells us that this is a highly evolved pegmatite system, cesium's in it, which is value adding. Again, back up to Chubb North just quickly. We've got large pegmatite outcrops that are fertile, ready for drilling. It's a big area, more than 200 hectares. We've drilled a couple of holes into it. It extends more than 200 meters deep. It's fertile. It's ripe for the picking. We want to explore. Again, quickly, I heard the bell. Hammersley. So just Monday, we released some news about some rock chip samplings up at Broad Flat Well. CID deposit, high line, sitting close to existing infrastructure, the Roburn-Whitnam Road, 115 Ks from Karatha. So there is potential for a very good resource here, easy to access, above water table, easy to mine, close to port. Keep an eye on it. Furthermore, Cane Bore, slightly to the south, only 90 Ks outside of Onslow. CIDs looking very similar, high line, ready to go. We've finished some flora and fauna, got our conservation management plan in, and now we're moving through the next stage of getting on the ground. Your coin, quickly. Magnetite, just north, think DRI. It's very popular at the moment. Green steel. Come and see me. My booth is over here. I'm going to be here for the next 2 days. Thank you very much.
Sell them, leave them wanting more. Peter Bewick, come and jump up on stage, sir. Now, BHP Explore is a 6-month accelerated program for early stage explorers. They chose 6 companies, and one of them was Hamelin Gold. So how's it going to affect their prospects for us as shareholders? Let us find out from this gentleman. Would you please welcome Peter Bewick?
Thanks, Chrissy. You've done your homework. That's great. Welcome along to the Hamelin Gold presentation, and thanks very much to the RIU team for the opportunity to present today. Hamelin Gold is a company with exploration in our DNA. We're really driven to grow our business through discovery, and what I'd like to show you today is some examples of how we believe we're moving down that path to reach that objective. So today I'd like to talk about 3 things. One is our application of new technologies in this undercover terrain. Secondly, some of the key observations we've made that are really opening up new search spaces within the Tanami. And lastly, I'll touch on what Chrissy talked about, which was what is BHP Explore and what does it mean for Hamelin Gold? So by way of introduction, our primary project is located up in the northeast of Western Australia. Our board is extremely experienced, well balanced with a good technical and commercial background. Pretty tight capital structure with Silver Lake and Goldfields as key shareholders on our register. We have a good cash position and an enterprise value which is really ready to accelerate if we can get some positive results. And I'll show you through some of those prospects which we think could deliver that response. So up here in the Tanami, we are a dominant landholder in the West Australian side of the Tanami province. We're located directly along strike, along the same structures and same geology that hosts Newmont's giant Callie or Tanami operations. It's odd in an orogenic belt to have such a giant and not a string of sort of 2 to 5 million ounce deposits within the same province. And that's the sort of scale opportunity we believe that Hamelin Gold has. The reason why it's still probably undiscovered is we have extensive sand cover, very little outcrop, and you could hide pretty well anything under there. And given Callie has such a small footprint, there is ample opportunity to hide a few Callies in 3,500 square kilometres. But with a sand environment like this, we really need to be good at 2 things. We need to be great at prediction, like where we think these deposits could be, and we need to be great at trying to explore and detect those deposits without going broke, drilling holes all over the place. So I'd like to talk about one of those elements, which is the use of the CSIRO developed ultrafine soil technology, which is a bit of a groundbreaking change for our work in this undercover terrain. So by way of example, I'll introduce you to the Sultan Gold prospect. Now this is an area where we identified a key structure that extended over 10 kilometres of strike. It was an interpreted structure that had never been drilled by previous explorers, and really had no substantial surface outcrop. We put one line of drilling across that started in late 2022 and finished in 23 with an RC program. And in that program, we delivered a 7-metre intersection at 3 grams gold with a metre at over half an ounce gold. This was an exceptional result in a completely unexplored part of the project. Then our question came, how do we explore the rest of this 10 Ks, again, without drilling infinitely? And this is where we trialled the first application of a technology that we've been looking to orientate, or have been orientating over the previous years. And this is the ultrafine technology. We selected that 4-kilometre long corridor as the first place that we put it into operation. The results were outstanding. I think anyone who has seen geochemical data before looks for big red blobs. And one thing we generated was a beautiful, coherent, 1-kilometre long gold anomaly in sand cover, which is as I said, a groundbreaking and outstanding outcome, sitting right on a beautiful structural flexure. We got these results, and within 2 weeks, we'd completed heritage monitoring. We mobilised a rig from Perth and had completed a 67-hole program, all within 2 weeks of getting those results. Those results were released to the market in early January. And I realise that you're probably not going to be able to read these figures, but what we identified was a 700-metre long bedrock gold anomaly sitting directly underneath that ultrafine surface anomaly. So what this means, obviously we're super excited to get the RC rig out here, and we've got an EIS co-funding to test this target at depth. But what it means for the rest of the project is we have potentially a groundbreaking new tool that we can apply to other sand-covered terrains and potentially come up with more targets like this. And this is a sort of footprint that might be sitting over a major gold system. So very exciting work. That drilling, the RC drilling, will start in a few months' time. The second area I'd like to look at in the second sort of part of the talk is looking at the effectiveness of previous exploration. We inherited a database of over 20,000 drill holes, of which 70% were less than 10 metres deep. This is an example of a 4-kilometre long gold system that was identified with surface sampling. And you look at that drill database and you think, well, that's been drill tested to death. All those blue dots are drill holes. What we didn't see when we first looked at it was all this drilling was less than 7 metres deep. Just to the north at our Fremlands project, where we'd done some exploration, we've seen a 20-metre thick leached profile. What that means is if you're not drilling through that leach profile, you're not going to see any regolith dispersion. So to test our concept that we thought this may be ineffectively drilled, we looked at the very northern part of this project where we had heritage clearance and completed 3 lines of air core drilling. And I'll show you what that looks like in section. So that's what we inherited, 7-metre deep drill holes directly over the top of the surface anomaly. And that's colour-coded by gold. So there's absolutely no gold there above 50 ppb gold. When we did our air core drilling, what we identified was an extensive, coherent regolith anomaly that is open to the south, where we have yet to get heritage clearance. So what we're really excited about doing is getting that clearance, pushing air core drilling across the full extent of the 4-kilometre long anomaly, and then we'll follow that up with deeper drilling, targeting the higher grade portions of that system. But this is, again, just an example of what we've seen elsewhere in the project, ineffectively drilled areas where solid gold anomalies at surface have been tested with only shallow drilling. So again, opening up fantastic new search spaces for the company. Lastly, we definitely don't know everything out here. In fact, we're learning by the week. And one thing we did was went out just to the north of where I just showed you that geochem anomaly. We drilled this rather weird looking magnetic anomaly. We had it as a gold target. We thought it was an interesting thing to test. We had an RC rig in the area. We decided to put one line of drilling across this to see what it was. What we got was not what we expected. We actually intersected a mafic, ultramafic intrusion that contained nickel copper PGE sulfide mineralisation. This is the first time this style of mineralisation has been recorded in the Tanami, and we were being nickel explorers in our previous lives. We knew how important that was to see that early mineralisation in a hole that was just really untargeted. We then looked at it and said, well, how are we going to get this funded? How are we going to move forward on this opportunity? And we decided to make an application to the BHP Explore program. And it is an accelerated program where you work side by side with BHP technical and contract staff to push that project forward and to determine if it's the sort of thing that might be of interest to BHP. Now, obviously at this stage it is, because we We were one of the 6 out of 529 applications that was successful globally. So we're pretty excited that they're excited. If we can turn this into a project and tick a few more boxes, and if it's of interest to BHP, it could be fascinating for our shareholders. Now, this is a single intrusion. We've now mapped out a very large area where these other intrusive bodies appear to be have potential for them, and this BHP program will really work out whether we've got a small occurrence or potentially a new province. So an exciting time ahead. Thank you very much for your time to listening to me today. I do encourage you to come to the booth and talk to me if you'd like to see anything more. We're here for the next 2 days. Have a great conference and thanks for your time.
Well done, Peter Bewick. Okay, recent media reports describe our next presenter as being slightly excited. What on slightly? They actually say very excited. What's he very excited about? Brian Thomas, you're going to come up and share with us what is making you excited. Brian is the Technical Director at Rare Earth Focused Lanthanein Resources. Brian, welcome to you.
Thank you, Chrissy. You'll get the pronunciation eventually. Yeah, thank you to Stewart and Simon for the opportunity to speak today. Lanthanein Resources, the inevitable disclaimer. If you want a copy of the presentation, come to the booth and you can read the fine print. The team of Lanthanein is 4 geologists and a very successful prospector who's just recently joined the board, Denise Zabet. David Francis, our chairman, is a resources specialist, geologist obviously, and with international experience. Peter Spirijuk is a geophysicist. Tom Langley was responsible for vending in a lot of the properties that are part of the Lanthanein portfolio. Myself, geologist, mineral economist, and a bit of financial markets and capital markets. So we've got a good spread of technical and financial skills. Cash at the moment, we've got 1.25. We've got a second tranche of a capital raising, which will be subject of a EGM in a couple of weeks, so we'll be well funded north to 3.5 mil. So we've got plenty to keep us going. Big part of what we do is we very engaged with our ESG side of things. We have very, very strong stakeholder engagement with our community relations and also our traditional owners and First Nations people. And we've mapped out the ESG roadmap for investors. Projects. I guess we started life as a rare earths explorer. Lyons and Edmund up in the Gascoyne with ironstones and ferrocarbonatite hosted rare earths. We have the Moradium project in South Australia, which is a clay-hosted rare earths. We have Mount Clare, which has got LCT pegmatites, carbonatites, and just recently we discovered it has a lot of the work there has been done on sedimentary uranium, but that's another story. And we have Kulia, which is a kaolin project in the Yilgarn. And our most recent addition is Lady Grey, which is a lithium project in the Yilgarn, right next to Mount Holland. So right into Lady Grey, which is right next door to Covalent Lithium's Earl Grey deposit. There's a T theme there, obviously, with the Earl Grey and Lady Grey. SQM and Wesfarmers 50-50 JV, 189 million tonne at 1.5%. Lithium, this is not a small deposit. This is a very major deposit. These guys are actually producing now. I think they're in the final stages of full-blown commissioning. It's a tier 1 location. We're right next door to them. We've got 18 kilometres of strike, and the actual Earl Grey pit is about 400 metres from our boundary. So we're in a very good location, and it's not that far from Perth. We're just south of the Greyston Highway, as I say, in Forestania. So Lady Grey Lithium Project is an EL that is 77 Ks. This has been sitting ungranted up till about 12 months ago for about 10 years. It's ground right next door to a major lithium now mine that was held in abeyance, I guess, for quite some time. We struck a deal with the unlisted, public unlisted that had eventually got the tenement granted. We're farming in to earn 70% of the project, and that's over probably a 2 to 3 year period. If you look closely up in that top right-hand corner there, you'll see how close Earl Grey mine is to the boundary. So not only have we got covalent with Earl Grey, we've also got IGO looking for more lithium in the Forestania belt. They've already got the western areas nickel mines, and Earl Grey, of course, is utilising a lot of the infrastructure that was originally put in when the old Bounty gold mine was there, and that produced well over 1 million ounces. So it's fertile country. The work done by the previous holder was fairly limited. They picked up on a radiometric anomaly there, which is that green outline there. You can see the boundary, the yellow boundary with the SQM and Wesfarmers with covalent. You can see the outline there of the Earl Grey pit. This potassium high anomaly prompted them, the previous holder, to do some soils and some rock chips, and it's one of those structural situations where the Earl Grey is thickest at the west, and it's cut off by a fault, and it would appear that a lot of the original flow of the pegmatites came from the west, and which has given us the idea to focus on a pair of granites out to the west, which I'll highlight in a little while, where as the source for the pegmatites. It appears that the pegmatites came from the west, so near the heat source. Right, so on those on that grid, they did some rock chip sampling, and this is the previous operators had some quite anomalous rock chips, and the geochemistry just looks like there's some quartz cores there that have got a lot going for them with on top of this radiometric anomaly. So what we're going to be doing with Lady Grey is we're conducting a tenement-wide soil program. It's never been done all over the whole of the project, and it's be good to have fresh data covering the whole of the tenement. We will even sample over the old geochem sampling that was done by the previous vendor. We do actually have a POW in place over that small grid that we highlighted in the previous slide for around 50 RC holes and 193 air core holes, but it appears from some of the review of the historical work that there's some other areas we might look to drill as well, certainly closer over to the granites in that northwest corner. We're waiting on heritage clearances for the drill program in the gridded area and also over the broader area. So we look to be drilling probably late March, early April, and have strong news flow during the year on Lady Grey. To Gascoyne and the rare earths project, the rare earths are hosted in the Yangibana ironstones. You would have heard about them this morning from Hastings, from Louis. It's all hosted within the Dalaka Super Suites. It's all along the Bald Hill lineament, and as you can see, we've got two ELs either side of Hastings, and they're now soon to be mining operations. They've got their pits all planned. They're building their plant. The new CEO has been charged with getting that plant up and running so they can start mining, and we're right next door to them. And of course, we've got Dean and Dreadnought off to the west with the Yin deposits, and so it's a highly fertile area around the Gifford Creek ferrogabonatites. So it's a new area for rare earths. As I said, Hastings have got a resource and a reserve there now, a proven probable of 30 odd million tonnes at about 0.9. You can see there that the Lions tenements are very, very close to the planned Hastings pits, and all our intersections on the Lions projects are all very, very similar to the Hastings ironstones as well. So we're right next door, and it's got a very, very high percentage of the high value neodymium, praseodymium in the total rare earths package. So it's actually quite a economically viable situation. Right, we did a bunch of drilling last year on lines 12 and 13. We put together a small resource, and obviously we're looking to do some additional drilling in there, infill and upgrade that resource. As you can see there, oh, Chrissy, you are on your feet already, sorry. Yes, we have Hastings with the structures there on the same line, the Bald Hill lineament. Moving right along to Moradium, which is the clay-hosted rare earths in South Australia. We are nearby Australian Rare Earths, who have got a very large resource there of 180 odd million tonne at around the 700 parts per million. And we have, yes, I know, I can see, we've got the new tenement there right next to the existing tenement. And I'm being rushed here. McCallion at Coolgin Nobbing, and Mount Clare with a rare earths and lithium and a little bit of sediment uranium. And okay, 20 seconds. Yes, we're over. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Say the name again for me.
Come again?
Say the name again for me.
Lanthanein Resources, Chrissy.
Can you all say that together with me, please? Lanthanein? Oh, yeah. Okay, very good. You're not listening to my instructions as well as Brian. Thank you, Lanthanein. Thank you very much, sir. Put your hands together for them. Okay, what's next up on my little screen here? Oh, this is a good one. Now, these guys here are poised to take advantage of that rising gold price. So Platina Resources next up on stage. This is Corey Nolan, MD, and yes, you've got plans to drill some holes this year, haven't you, and take advantage of it. Would you please make Corey very welcome, everyone?
Thank you, Chrissy. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the conference. It's good to be back and give everyone a little bit of an update of our progress over the last 12 months, and we're tracking for 2024. I guess the most significant thing we achieved last year was the sale of our scandium project. We completed that in the middle of the year and netted $10.5 million in cash, which has really set us up well for our planned exploration activities this year. So Platina is a West Australian focused gold exploration company. We've got a portfolio of projects in the Ashburton and the Yilgarn Cratons. We're looking to drill 2 projects over the next quarter. And we also have one of our projects, Mount Naira, funded through a joint venture with Chalice Mining. We're well funded. We've got $9.1 million in the bank. And we could potentially, over the next 2 years, receive an additional proceeds of up to $11 million from the sale of our scandium project. So we'll be very well positioned to fund all of our exploration activities. In fact, if you were to take a little bit of a look at our market capitalisation and compare that with our cash that we have, our investments, it implies an enterprise value of about $1.8 million on our portfolio of gold opportunities in West Australia, which we obviously think is very low, and we're going to be drilling those opportunities and looking to unlock that value. And if you were to reflect those additional payments that we would get through the scandium sale, that would give us an adjusted enterprise value of nearly minus $10 million, which obviously doesn't make a lot of sense. Just wanted to quickly reflect on our executive team, because obviously that's fundamental to unlocking the value in our portfolio. I've been the managing director of Platina for about 5 years, pretty much restructured the company from a palladium company into a gold exploration company during that period. Prior to that, I was the CEO at Sarytogan Mining, and I was sort of responsible for packaging up all of the lithium projects that Sarytogan had in Quebec. And we started a process of drilling out those deposits and completing feasibility studies. and that resulted in a fairly material increase in the value of the company through that period. And after I left, I think that company went on to become a $4 billion company at its peak. But my job is obviously to raise the money for Patina, and Rowan's job is to spend the money. He's our exploration manager. He joined about 2 years ago from DeGray Mining. He was there for over 4 years and part of the exploration team that discovered the Hemi deposit. So he's got a really good track record. He spent most of his working career here in Western Australia. So both of us are pretty motivated to make a discovery and create value and demonstrate that our previous experiences weren't just a fluke. It comes at a time when equity market values are probably not really reflecting it, but we do have an environment of record gold price in both Australian dollars and US dollar terms. So it's hopefully that trend continues throughout the year and the equity values catch up to it. Our primary focus at the moment is 3 projects: our Xanadu project in the Ashburton, and then the Beatty project near Norseman, and our Brimstone project, where we're looking to unlock some value there following quite a successful drill program in late 2023. So our Xanadu project, it's located in the Ashburton Basin, sits on the 470 kilometre long Nargilgadi fault zone. There's a number of quite attractive deposits sitting on here, including the really high-grade Parsons deposit in the northwest, and then you've got Karlawinda down in the southwest, and our 550 square kilometre tenement package sits right next to the 1.4 million ounce Mount Olympus deposit. So we believe that we're in good company with a number of pretty significant deposits on a regional scale geological setting. Kalamazoo, the owner of the Mount Olympus deposit, has just announced that they've given DeGray Mining an option to acquire their deposit for $30 million. So the Xanadu project has had quite a lot of historical exploration. It was primarily, the exploration was primarily focused around developing quite shallow oxide resources for a heap leach project they did. There was a small pit at Amphitheatre and a number of quite large stockpiles which still exist. Most of that exploration effort was concentrated in the northwest end in that sort of light blue colour area. And last year we did some drilling around Hermes, which is a new prospect that we discovered, and we'll be looking to do further work there this year, hopefully generating further targets there that can be drilled. So it's quite a large package that we've got to tackle here. And then you've got the Mount Olympus deposit, only sort of 7 kilometres away in the northeast there. This area here is the light blue zone. It's about a 10 kilometres in strike length. It's a really highly altered zone of mineralisation. There's a lot of historical drilling in here, demonstrating quite a large low-grade envelope of mineralisation, and within that you get these structural controls with much higher grade intercepts of mineralisation. So we're about to start a drill program here, and we'll be looking to do about 3,000 metres of RC drilling, looking to try and extend and better understand those mineralised trends that are quite well misunderstood at the moment. And we've also got a number of geophysical anomalies that we're going to be looking to drill with some deeper holes, probably targeting sort of 300 or 400 metres depth, looking for the source of gold in this very large system. Our second project that we'll be looking to drill is our Beatty project. It's located just to the south of Norseman. There's about 5 million ounces there, including 1 million ounces at the Scotia Mining Centre. It's about 10 kilometres north of our prospect. And Aruma have had some very good success drilling to the south of our property with narrower but very rich intersections of gold. There's a couple of magnetic anomalies that run through that property. And our plan is to come through and do pretty much a tenement-wide air core program as soon as we get our cultural heritage clearances secured and our flora and fauna surveys completed. So hopefully sort of late March, early April for that drilling. And our Brimstone project, it's located 50 kilometres northeast of Kalgoorlie. It sits just in close proximity to the very high-grade Penny's fine gold deposit. We did a small drilling program at the end of 2023, and got some really interesting follow-up intersections from historical drilling. We believe that we sort of doubled the size of the Garibaldi mineralised envelope there, and we're getting some good intersections like 50 metres at 2 grams. So it's it's a really exciting prospect, and we're currently just in the process of working out how we'll move this project forward. So just recapping our corporate snapshot, we've got 620 million shares in issue, so quite tightly held. Market cap about 11 million, $9.1 million cash in the bank, and we've got a number of investments that will probably just slowly liquidate over time to fund our exploration activities. So the prospects in the short term for us results from our Xanadu drilling, our Beatty drilling programs, further milestone payments from our scandium sale, and unlocking the value of our Brimstone project, and hopefully some exploration success at our Mount Narrow joint venture. Thank you very much.
That serves me right for talking so much, doesn't it? I've run out of battery power. There you go. Some of you will be very pleased with that, and others can go and jump outside, and I won't take you to drinks later on. Okay, now this next gentleman up on stage, I read 2 comments from him during the week, and I thought, oh, they're nice and nerdy. I love them. One of them was, he said, we have outstanding physical spheroidization results at high yields of ideally sized spheres. As he walks up there, think of him contemplating those comments to himself. But right now, in 2024, he's charging and he's on a mission to measure the battery performance of said spheres. Would you please welcome from Sarytogan Graphite, Sean Gregory, MD.
Thank you, Chrissy. We are actually genuinely excited about the opportunity that we have at Sarytogan. We are disrupting graphite anode supply. And the reason we say that is not only have we those milestones that Chrissy mentioned, they're a bit out of date. We actually, in the last couple of weeks, we have achieved that. We have made our first batteries with our material. The reason why we're going to disrupt graphite anode supply is we are the world's second largest and the world's highest grade JORC resource, typically triple the grade of most other graphite projects and at least triple the size. So that's a great place to start. Now, using that start, we've moved forward and we've gone through and systematically checked off each element of our flow sheet that culminated in that milestone last week of making our first batteries. They're at 99.998% purity, 25 times purer than the normal graphite spec, and they perform very well, in fact, superior to the current incumbent being synthetic graphite out of China. Our project's in Kazakhstan, and that's a wonderful place to do business, and we'll tell you about that, ideally located facing Europe as our major market. Our pre-feasibility study is well underway, and now that we have those battery results, first opportunity to publish, and we're targeting Q3 and possibly even sooner. So just on the resource, it is giant, the world's second largest. It is exceptionally high grade. Now, the reason for that is our geology is a little bit different to your traditional graphite mine. Most graphite mines are formed by regional metamorphism. This mine has been formed by contact metamorphism. And what that actually means is that manifests itself in our flake size. You probably heard 5 to 10 years ago, the graphite market was all about what's your flake size. Our flake size, as it turns out, is microcrystalline. which is exactly what you need for batteries. It doesn't fit into your traditional buckets of vein graphite, flake graphite or amorphous graphite, but rather we've actually got the best attributes of each of those boxes. Now, our resource is so vast that it manifests itself in these low mining costs. They say grade is king in mining, and turns out when you triple the grade and your strip ratio is a third, you do the arithmetic on it, and it turns out that mining costs will be a tenth of perhaps a traditional graphite mine. Processing costs being triple the grade, the processing costs will be about a third. And that's just on the physicals. You wait till we get to Kazakhstan as a jurisdiction. So what we've decided to do with our project, we're not tempted to go and build a big mine because that's what we love doing as Aussies. We're actually going to build a small mine. We've asked the engineers to make this mine as small as we possibly can make it, which is hard to do when your feed grade is so high. But we're going to make 50,000 tonnes of graphite products, and we're going to spread those 50,000 tonnes across 3 different markets to penetrate those markets and build that market base before expanding and expanding and expanding. All of these elements we've now demonstrated, culminating, of course, in our battery performance last week. And those results, in fact, are superior to the current incumbent, which is synthetic graphite anodes out of China. Our material has a higher specific capacity in terms of how many amps you can get into that graphite per gram. We've done that on what's called uncoated spherical graphite. We'll do that on coated spherical graphite as well, which will be even better. Now let's touch on the market. What's this guy doing banging on about battery raw materials? I thought that was last year's story. Well, the lithium bubble popped, but this is real data, electric vehicles still going month in, month out, growing and growing and growing. And while the commodity cycles go up and down, the world is going to need a lot of raw materials. And we're seeing those numbers coming through, 28% increase in anode production in China. Graphite, of course, makes up half of the electric vehicle battery. It always has and it always will do. It is always the anode, regardless of the chemistry of your cathode. We'll try and optimise that, but the anode is always graphite. Now, within graphite, there's a couple of key types you need to be aware of. There's artificial graphite and there's natural graphite. Traditionally, natural graphite has been about 40% of the mix that goes into an anode. Last year, however, we required tons and tons of raw materials, and the quickest and the easiest way to get that capacity to market was for the Chinese to turn on another synthetic graphite plant. That comes at a penalty. It's more expensive, requires a huge amount of energy to take byproducts from the petroleum industry, cook them up to 3,000 degrees, hold it there for 3 weeks. Huge cost involved, not only economically, but also environmentally, of course, with all that energy. But they can do it. It's been done quickly. But what we are now seeing is as the policies start to come through, things like the EU battery passport, where every battery will have a QR code on it that you can scan and you'll be able to see where your raw materials came from and how many tonnes of CO2 went into making that battery. That'll drive accountability in the supply chain, and we believe, and in fact the forecasters believe, there'll be a shift back to natural graphite. So what that means is that not only are we leaning into a growing market, but we're going to be grabbing a bigger slice of that growing pie. Benchmark Mineral Intelligence say that the world is going to need 97 new graphite mines to meet this demand, which is growing 7 times. We've targeted, we've gone as small as we can. Because of our high head grade, we can't go any smaller than this average mine size of 50,000 tonnes. The world needs 97 of those. We'll start with 1 and then perhaps we can build many, many more. Certainly our resource is big enough to build many of these. It's a really fascinating world with the geopolitics. I touched on the battery passport. China dominates graphite more than any other mineral. They do 70% of the world's graphite mining and 90% of the world's anodes. Of course, the world's looking to diversify from that, and we are a credible alternative to China. Great location. I put this slide here. Many people couldn't put their finger on a map, but it is wedged right between China and Europe. China's got their own graphite. We are facing Europe as our likely customer. We're not the only ones up there. There's a good mix of established mining jurisdiction. The big boys are up there, juniors are up there, state-owned enterprises are up there, huge oil and gas industry, 40% of the world's uranium. It's a great place to go mining. Zooming into our project now, this is in the Karaganda region in central Kazakhstan. We can't believe how lucky we are in terms of the infrastructure that we have at our fingertips. We're only about 170 kilometres from this industrial town, Karaganda. I call it the Kalgoorlie of Kazakhstan. There's one of the world's biggest steel mills there, and all of the support contractors have sprung up there to support that industry, and they're there to support us. You've got rail, you've got water, we've got power. Power, of course, is going to be very important for our business doing thermal purification. We are blessed in Kazakhstan. One of the things our pre-feasibility study is looking to do is to select the location for our project. We can't go past Kazakhstan. Power costs US 4 cents per kilowatt hour. Here, about 20 cents. And to boot, there's also solar infrastructure just down the road from our project. So in terms of our work program for the year, look, we're very proud of what we've achieved. 2022 was drilling for us. We drilled it out and got it up to indicated. 2023 was about the metallurgy, and all of the milestones we said we do, we've done, including demonstrating every element of our flow sheet and our battery performance. There'll be more battery performance news to come. We'll move from uncoated to coated spherical, and then that'll culminate in the pre-feasibility study no later than Q3 this year. This year will also be a big year for marketing, so stay tuned for that. We've ticked the resource, we've done the metallurgy, we've done the battery. Stay tuned for the marketing. Here's the value proposition, and I'm sure you've seen it today. It's ridiculous. I saw the last speaker had a negative enterprise value. It is outrageous, the valuation, but at a $25 million market cap, have a look at some of our peers at 10 times that. Sarytogan, ASX, SGA.
Well done. I love your passion, absolutely love your passion. All right, we're going up to Green Bay, Canada, and that's where you'll find it, the Gold, Copper, Jewel in the Crown project for FireFly Metals. Steve Parsons is the Managing Director, and he's managed to drag himself away from his strategically placed little booth 71, which is in the room next door, just near the cold bar, if you'd like to go and speak to him afterwards. Would you please make him welcome, everyone?
Great, thanks very much. And I know it's the end of the day, and I know the sessions are pretty short, so I'll make this short and sweet. Please do come by our booth, though. We've got some of our key personnel up there, key management, as well as technical people as well. So come and ask some questions. You know, everything is on the ASX platform, and of course, read the disclaimers in your own time. So I'm going to talk today about Green Bay Copper Gold Project. It's a recent acquisition for us in Canada. It's a great mining jurisdiction, one of the top mining jurisdictions globally. We purchased what is one of the biggest, newest, highest grade copper and gold projects that's out there at the moment, with almost 40 million tonnes at 2.1% copper equivalent and a very nice gold credit with that as well. We also purchased about $250 million worth of infrastructure that came with that. And that includes hydropower, which of course is very low cost power. It comes with an underground shaft for haulage, and of course a whole bunch of underground decline as well for bringing ore to the top of the ground. But the focus of the presentation today being an Explorers conference, I'm going to talk about the exploration upside and where we see we can create value for shareholders over the next 12 months. Unfortunately, we don't have time to talk about Pickle Crow today, but all I will say, it's one of the highest grade, largest undeveloped gold projects on the ASX platform or TSX platform. So watch this space over the next few months on that. We have a team that's done it before. We're very good at exploration. We've discovered a lot of gold and minerals over the last few years. We're very good at taking projects, fast tracking them through into development and creating shareholder wealth that way. And of course, you know, we are cashed up. We have $17 million in the bank that gets us all the way through to October, November of this year to achieve everything we need to achieve. A very quick snapshot of the company. As I said, we are cashed up to get us the whole way through. for this year and what we're planning on doing. A very good volume, so you can get in and out on the ASX platform. We're strongly institutional with almost 50% institutions from North America and Australia, and some very good research there from a number of Australian investment banks as well. So why do we like the project? Well, I think from this slide you'll probably see, so this is a VMS mineralised system. They typically come in clusters, they're typically very big, and they're company making type projects. There's two zones that we have on our project. One is a very high grade massive sulfide copper and gold zone that sits at the top of the mine. All those drill results there you can see are unmined, completely open, and we know that that ore body carries on. This reminds me of DeGrussa that Sandfire had in a lot of ways. You can see 9 metres at 13% copper, 17 metres at 6.5% copper, and look at those gold grades as well. Now, sitting directly below that, again, completely unmined and open, is this big bulk tonnage, large-scale footwall zone. Now, this is very copper-rich, and it's typically a couple of zones within it. So you can see zones of 65 metres at 3.5% copper, and a second zone sitting below that of 24 metres at 1.4% copper. These are true widths, completely unmined and open, and you're seeing intersections there of up to 100 metres in true thickness as well, at 1.7% copper. So very big, broad mineralisation. So what do we think? Well, we think this project's going to grow substantially. Our view is with that $17 million this year is drill rigs turning. There's already 2 drill rigs on site operating. News flow will be happening every few weeks as we step out and grow the resource. And you're going to see a scale of this project that we believe will be moving us more to the right of this page than where we currently are. As I said, this is a great jurisdiction. It's rated number 4 on the Fraser Mining Investment Attractive Index, just below Western Australia. It is all about mining in Newfoundland and Canada. You can see some major mines there, Rio Tinto, Champion Iron, some of the biggest iron ore mines in the world, similar to what you see up in the Pilbara. Big oil and gas off the coast as well. You know, this sector, the mining sector contributes just over 30% to GDP for this area. So in a lot of ways, very similar to Western Australia, especially with the large FIFO workforce as well, skilled labour here in Newfoundland. So I'm going to take you into the Green Bay Copper Gold Project in Newfoundland and the Bay Vert Peninsula. We own pretty much all the entire volcanoclastic sedimentary sequence there. As I said, infrastructure is a key part of what we have there. Hydropower, 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm sure you'll hear people here in Western Australia talking about 20 cents as the normal rates here. A camp all set up, ready to go. Access 24/7, operating 365 days a year. So I'm going to take you in the portal here, the underground portal, and you're going to look at a couple of long sections in the geology. So the surface portal on the left-hand side of the screen there. The decline marked up in black takes you all the way to the bottom of the mine at about 950 metres below surface. There's a shaft down to about 650 metres below surface as well. And as I said, there's 2 mineralising ore bodies here. The first one, this high-grade massive sulfide zone that sits at the top, marked up in gold. Pretty much most of that was mined out in the 80s, 90s and 2000s. So think DeGrussa, think high-grade copper and gold, pretty much mined out, and then sitting directly below it, marked up in red, is this big, broad footwall zone. And this is big. This is 1.2 kilometres of strike, completely unmined and open. And the thing is, we know these ore bodies carry on. So just below the mine, we've got 350 metres of step-out drilling. Those high-grade copper and gold zones you can see carry on. So that's an important target for us. And then this big bulk tonnage lower footwall zone sitting there, that's also open. So we've drilled, the previous operator drilled 2 drill holes up to 0.5 kilometre step out, and it hit 102 metres at 1.7% copper. So we know that carries on. So very, very simple, straightforward step out exploration is what we're about to create value with the drill bit. And then the other takeaway on this page is that when you look at all those red dots on the screen, that's all the drilling that's happened on this project. There's not one red drill hole drilled outside of where that mining is. So we're super excited by that, and you're going to see us targeting that with geophysics and exploration drilling over the next few months as well. So as I said, very straightforward. It's low-hanging fruit. The jumbo's already putting in a 5.5 by 5.5 metre exploration drill drive that we can use for haulage later on. We've put in the first drill cuddies. There's 2 drill rigs turning as we speak. Those green fans are fanning down into the high-grade ore and then down into the big, broad footwall zone. Then that will move out in a couple of months' time to the second fan, and you'll see that extending as well. So all of that will come together for a resource update in September of this year. But expect to see news flow every few weeks as we drill down into that high-grade lode and into that big, broad footwall lode as well. Now, we are just scratching the surface here in Canada, and especially when you compare it to the other mines. The reason being is that the rock stress levels are so much less than here in Western Australia. So the equivalent of 950 metres is about 400 metres below surface. And remembering our ore body starts only a couple hundred metres below surface there as well. So we expect in 12 months' time, when I'm on stage here again, you'll see a lot more of this page turning red on our project as we go deeper and step out to the west and east on this project as well. So as I said, this mine was fully operational, fully ventilated, dewatered. We're up and down that constantly, 5.5 by 5.5 metre development for quick, fast tracking development into production. And probably the real takeaway in this slide, besides looking at the bolts and mesh on the ground conditions, which is obviously very low cost for us, is when you look at the sulfides, you can see that these are going to light up like a Christmas tree when we do downhole geophysics. So that exploration targeting will be starting in a couple of months' time. It'll be discovery work outside of just the straightforward low-hanging fruit step-out work. So this hasn't changed since we put this out in August when we acquired the project. As I said, the $17 million gets us all the way through to about October or November this year. It's constant drilling. We started with 1 drill rig, we've ramped it up to 2. The 3rd drill rig will be arriving in a couple of months' time, and it's all about extending that resource and discovery work as well, with a resource coming out in September of this year. So hopefully you can see why I'm pretty excited about the new acquisition. Very high grade, it is completely open. We expect to have some very low cost drill results coming back that are extending that resource, and we expect to be creating value for our shareholders over this next few months as we grow the resource and have discovery on the project and demonstrate that this mine will be something much, much larger than it currently is, and for low capital costs as well. So please do come by our booth. Thanks very much.
All right, we have 2 opportunities for you to dive into today. We're doing it in shades of yellow. We're going to finish with gold, which just closed, is it $3,119.37 Australian, so that's fairly impressive. We're going to lead, though, with uranium. We're going to excite you with uranium. Here's a question for you all, where would you find the longest continually operating uranium mine in the world? You can't leave until you answer. Mark? Namibia, correct. That's right. It's actually in Namibia, which I was quite surprised at. But this is the man that had that information at the tip of his tongue, and he's got lots of other information as well, which I'm sure will excite your portfolios. Would you please make welcome from Elevate Uranium, Murray Hill, Managing Director.
Thanks, Chrissy. What an exciting time to be in the uranium industry. Uranium is the hottest commodity on the planet. I just want to see if we've got a reaction to see if anybody was awake there. Very clearly for a number of reasons. But it is a very exciting time. We are one of the very few uranium companies. Your controller's not working real well. There it is, that's better. Yeah, no, I had to use the other one. We, for a long while, were the only company on the ASX with uranium in our name because we're very proud of the industry we're in. But there's been a few opportunities come lately and use uranium in their name as well. But we've got direct exposure to uranium in Namibia and Australia. 2 great jurisdictions for mining. Namibia is one of the big producers, as you say, longest running uranium mine in the world. We've got 142 million pound of assets in both of those jurisdictions. We've got an extensive and diverse project pipeline from greenfields exploration through to commencing indicated drill programs moving into studies. We've got a patented process we developed in-house called Upgrade. It lowers the cost base by approximately 50% for capital and operating. It reduces the mass to be leached to less than 5%. So a great process for us. We've got an aggressive drill program. We've got 4 drill rigs underway in Namibia at the moment and a 5th one coming next month. We've got a small but experienced and dedicated team. We don't spend too much money at the top. We spend the money on exploration on the ground. And we're strategically located in Namibia. I'll tell you that a little bit later as to why. And what an exciting time, as I say, to be in uranium. It's the cleanest form of energy on the planet. It is something we need going forward. you will have heard us talk about, or people talk about lithium and graphite and batteries. I'll let you in a little secret. Batteries store energy, batteries discharge energy. Batteries don't generate energy. So it's got to come from somewhere. So the more batteries we've got, the more energy we need. And if you want low carbon emission energy, look no further than us. So from a corporate overview, small number of shares on issue for an Australian listed company, a lot of cash in the bank to keep us going for a while. And we have a wide spread of shareholders. The skin in the game for the board and management's in the order of 5.1%. Our two largest shareholders are the ETFs out of the US who love uranium. So uranium, Namibia and Australia, we've got a diverse range of assets, as I say, in terms of the project pipeline. In the Copies area, or sorry, the Namibia area, we've got the Copies project, our flagship. Central Orongo is the Marinika area, and then across into Australia, Northern Territory is our Angela project. So there are, as I say, the different levels of stages of projects. And we have the largest land position for nuclear fuels in Namibia. If you put all the other Paladin, Orano, Rossing, Deep Yellow, Bannerman together, they still haven't come up to our land position. We've made 4 discoveries in the last 4 years in Namibia. Because we're looking for paleo channels that are old uranium that's leached out of the old granites over time, and then it travels down through river systems and precipitated when the conditions are right. We're looking for the uranium in those paleo channels, generally less than 25 metres deep. There's a lot of them up the north in the Central Orongo area and down the south, down in the Namib area. But so we like Namibia. It's the only country in the world with a dedicated uranium association. The Namibian Uranium Association is the conduit between explorers, producers, developers, government, stakeholders, general public. They do a fantastic job of promoting the industry, and very supportive government. You know, they all understand uranium. The people in Namibia have two, as I say, 48 years. That's 2 generations of Namibians very familiar with uranium mining. They're not woke. So am I allowed to use that word, Chrissy? Woke like we are in Australia. So they completely understand it. They're not terrified by it. So the Copies project is our flagship in Namibia. You would have heard people talk about their drill programs and you know how deep they are. We drill 28-metre holes. They cost us $1,000 a hole. We have 4 drill rigs. They stay on the weekend at site. Drillers go out with our crew on Monday morning from Swakopmund. They drill 25 holes per rig per week each. They come back into town on a Friday night and have their weekend in luxury of Swakopmund. So 25 holes per week for 4 rigs is 100 holes a week. That's a lot of holes. We have another drill rig starting on next month. That'll be 5 rigs working in Namibia flat out. So 125 holes coming out of Namibia every week. So the Copies project, this is the resource area we've got. We're still drilling up the north of the tenement, and we're also drilling down in the south all the way. So we've got a strike length of 20 kilometres. We're expecting a resource update next month on this, and then we'll commence an indicated drill program. We want to do indicated drilling, want to get this resource to a stage where we can start economic studies, financial studies, and we can also do metallurgical test work on our upgrade process, which I'll talk about shortly. But the one thing I really like about this resource, and no disrespect to anybody before me, but 500, 800, 950 metres deep, 95% of our resource is within 15 metres of surface. 50% is within 6.5 metres of surface. That's as shallow as they come. So low cost mining operation, low strip ratio is what it's going to be. And when you couple that with our upgrade process, it's really going to be a low cost operation. So we're excited about what this offers. It's free dig for the first 3 to 4 metres, and then after that, we'll use a surface mine. It's something you use to rip up bitumen roads around the place. So it'll cut it 1/2 metre deep, and we'll get through this ore body nicely with a good outcome for us. So moving across to Australia, we need to talk about Australia. We have assets here. We got £48 million. We bought those in December of 2019. The world went to shit shortly after that. We couldn't do anything. We were certainly justified as being the most isolated city in the world. It's only lately we've been able to move back again. We've done some work, seismic work at Angela. That's identified the lens, this sandstone-hosted lens that carries a mineralisation. It's also identified another lens beneath it. Never been drilled before. We want to go and drill that, see if it's got mineralisation. Then we talk about Minerva. That was explored and found in 1978. hasn't been drilled since. 10 holes hit intercepts greater than 10,000 ppm. So some high grade. We want to go and drill that, understand the structure, then work out how to explore it further. The other thing about our upgrade process, we did some work on the Angela deposit. It's got a high acid consumption because of the calcite content. We did 4 lab tests, and nobody can say they can optimise in 4 lab tests. We reduced the acid consumption by 80%. So we know there's upside further on that. So we're going to get some drilling done in Australia this year. So from a news flow point of view, I talked about copies. We're going to finish our inferred drilling program next month. We'll announce an update on the resource. Move into indicator drilling. We're going across in April to start digging some test pits to get some samples for metallurgical test work and ultimately for a pilot plan in the future. That will then feed into a test work program, which we then want to use to demonstrate that upgrade works well. Hirabeb, Capri, both discoveries, that'll be 3 of the 4 copies, Hirabeb, Capri, want to take those to maiden resources. And we've got thanks for that. We've got greenfield exploration to do. I'm just thinking I've got a couple more slides to go. So I want to get an upgrade. Upgrade is a process we developed in-house. What it does is uses commonly used unit operations, but we configure it in an unconventional manner. And the reason they're configured unconventionally is what we do is we concentrate the gangue mineral and throw it away. So that's counterintuitive for what you normally do. You normally concentrate uranium, but we concentrate the calcites, the clay, and we throw them away. So hence it's innovative and patentable. We have 3 patents around the world. It reduces the amount of mass to be leached by down to greater than 95%, down to less than 5%. So you're now akin to a base metal operation where you can transport that concentrate off site. In Namibia, I talked about the strategic nature of our location. There's Rossing have been there for 48 years. Have they got capacity in the leach refinery? Yes. Could they take a concentrate? Yes. So we wouldn't then need to necessarily build a leach refinery, and that leach refinery could not having to build that reduces the costs even further. So we've got optionality about how we develop these projects. We've got a ready taker of concentrate, and this will add significant value to our projects. It'll bring our projects closer together. The tyranny of distance is reduced because of the reduced mass. So environmental benefits, there's many of those, but cost benefits there are a lot of. So an example, we took the Marinica grade from 93 ppm to 5,000 ppm. So that gave that project to life, gave us confidence that we could go and use upgrade elsewhere. So we're excited about, you look at a project like Copies within 15 metres of surface and with a upgrade process that reduces the cost significantly. 2-1, Chrissy, thank you. So just to finish, this is what Copies looks like, right? So you don't have to worry about animals or vegetation, Chrissy. So you could even go there and not be worried.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks for that. Do you know there's a link between... Oh, give him a clap. It's a very good idea. So you're very rude. There's a link between you and our next presenter.
Is it?
Yeah,
both
there is.
gold.
You're both very shallow. Which usually would be an insult, but in context of what Murray was talking about, 15 metres below the surface, Antipa is also very shallow. They are not too far beneath the surface as well, which is a great thing when you try to get a resource up and get it out and not cost us, the shareholders, too much money. Don't you laugh at me from Sydney. We'll send you back there. All right, so we've got Roger Mason. He is our final opportunity for you today. Antipa, we're coming local, we're coming close to infrastructure, and it's big. This is a really big opportunity. Would you please make him very welcome?
Thanks everyone for your time. I know it's the last session of the day. This is our standard disclaimer. Antipa acknowledges the traditional custodians of land across the country. Antipa's exploration and project development portfolio covers a massive 5,700 square kilometres, in fact, of Western Australia. Just to put that in perspective, that land holding is the size of Burley. Over the last 7 years, the Paterson province has seen its 32 million ounce gold and 3 million tonne copper endowment grow by a staggering 19 million ounces of gold and 4 million tonnes of copper as a result of greenfield discoveries undercover. This includes Greatland Gold's Havieron deposit, Rio Tinto's Winu deposit, and Antipa's Calibre and Minyari deposits. In fact, Antipa has generated 4.3 million ounces of that gold endowment growth, and our value is underpinned by a significant resource base of 2.6 million ounces of gold. As a result of these recent discoveries, the province boasts 3 large-scale potential gold-copper development projects, including Antipa's Minyari Dome project. Antipa's market cap is around $50 million, and we have approximately $6 million in cash. Note the strong strategic 34% cornerstone to our register, which consists of our major shareholder Newmont at just under 9%, institutions and funds around 18%, and both IGO and the board at approximately 3.5% each. The Minyari Dome 2022 scoping study identified the potential for a significant standalone gold development opportunity. The project boasts a resource of 1.8 million ounces of gold and a mining inventory of 1.1 million ounces of gold at 1.6 grams per tonne, which generated a NPV of $392 million at an internal rate of return of 34%. The project's initial processing life is 7+ years at a throughput of 3 million tonnes per annum and produces an impressive 168,000 ounces per annum for the first 5 years. Our development opportunity is strategically located just 35 kilometres from Newmont's Telfer processing facility, which has a 22 million tonne capacity and is rapidly running out of ore. This study used a gold price of 2,430 Australian dollars per ounce, and so it's worth noting that the current Australian dollar spot gold price of about $3,100 per ounce could materially increase the project's economics. With this significant gold price leverage in mind, we have commenced a re-evaluation of the Minyari development opportunity. Antipa's Paterson Province portfolio delivers significant exploration optionality, boasting 3 additional complementary growth projects, which are huge in every sense of the word. Huge belt-scale combined portfolio, huge partners, Rio Tinto, Newmont and IGO, huge partner combined spending of up to $115 million, and huge Tier 1 gold-copper discovery and development potential. Our 100% project offers significant resource growth and greenfield discovery potential. In 2022, the Minyari Dome resource increased from 700,000 ounces to 1.8 million ounces, and discoveries last year at GEO-01 and Minyari North provide significant additional maiden resource potential. Our pipeline of multiple high-impact drilling programs is aimed at materially increasing the scale of the Minyari standalone development opportunity, as well as delivering transformational greenfield discoveries. Drilling at our GEO-01 soil target has identified a mineral system footprint similar in size to our flagship 1.5 million ounce Minyari deposit, which is located just 1.3 kilometres away. At GEO-01, limited broad-spaced drilling has identified thick zones of gold mineralisation under shallow cover, including multiple 60 to 100 gram metre gold intersections, with the mineralisation remaining open in several directions. Key intersections include 50 metres at 2.3 grams per tonne gold, including 19 metres at 5 grams per tonne, and 48 metres at 1.7 grams per tonne, including 28 metres at 2.8 grams per tonne gold. So GEO-01 represents a material, open-pittable maiden resource opportunity, with further infill and extensional drilling about to commence next month, with the aim of delivering this first resource around the middle of the year. 5,000 metre diamond core drilling program also commences next month, and that's aimed at delivering significant greenfield discoveries. 30 kilometres east of Minyari are our 3 Pac-Man targets, which are along strike from Havieron. PM1 and PM3 display Havieron-like characteristics, whilst PM2 displays characteristics considered similar to the 2 million tonne copper Nifty deposit. At our Havieron analogue bullseye magnetic target Tetris, a recently completed diamond core hole confirmed mineral systems signatures with hydrothermal vein and breccia-style zinc, lead, silver mineralisation and arsenic bismuth gold anomalism. 3D magnetic modelling will confirm if further drilling is required at Tetris. On our Minyari Dome project, we completed 19,000 metres of drilling last year, and during the first half of this year, we will complete a further 11,000 metres. The assay results for last year's 6,000 metre air core program, which tested a range of targets within 12 kilometres of Minyari, are expected later this month. Our 3 major partners contributed 9,000 metres of drilling last year and perhaps a similar quantum of drilling this year. This all culminates in a huge amount of discovery-focused exploration across our belt-scale combined portfolio. Our 1,470 square kilometre Wilkie farming project with Newmont comes to within a few kilometres of Telfer and Havieron's combined 40 million ounces of gold. Newmont need to spend $60 million to earn a 75% interest. Currently, Antipa still owns 100% of this project. The Wilkie project has a greenfield discovery focus for gold-rich Havieron and Telfer analogues. Newmont's objectives being to find new ore sources within 50 kilometres of their 22 million tonne per annum plant, which by 2025 will have huge spare capacity. A very large-scale surface geochemical sampling program was commenced late last year and has had immediate success, identifying a new, very large, 3 kilometre long by 1.5 kilometre wide gold target known as Parklands, just 10 kilometres from Telfer. Parklands has a peak gold lag result of 1.5 grams per tonne and multiple lag results greater than 0.1 grams per tonne. The anomaly is also open in several directions. The host metasediment basement here is concealed beneath shallow cover and provides a very favourable anticlinal mineralisation trap site located on a northeast trending structure which intersects Telfer. Located close to Telfer and with the potential for material deposit scale, Parklands is a very exciting discovery prospect which we expect will be evaluated this year. In wrapping up, Antipa is emerging as a potential significant gold-copper business with several re-rate catalysts in a region which is emerging as Western Australia's next prolific mining province, having delivered multiple Tier 1 gold-copper discoveries in recent years and which has immense potential for further discovery. With so much drilling in the pipeline, investors can expect a very busy, news flow-rich, resource growth and discovery-focused 2024. I'm going to move to the last one, but thanks everybody for your time.
Good. Well done, Roger. Well done, Roger. This might be the intimate gathering with the money in the room that makes an interesting investment with you. How are you all feeling? Good? Excellent. I want you all to wake up now because I've got a special treat for you. We have 20 minutes of drinks outside in the exhibition hall, just 20 minutes, because I would like you all to be able to drive home responsibly and then get back again tomorrow morning at 8:35 a.m. Actually, I'll be here at 8:30, but the first presentation will be 8:35. Okay, so take care. And also remember, please, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Just in case you hadn't actioned that already, you may need to do so. Yes, especially you. Take care, everyone. Thank you.